What's up, kiddos? This is the last page in your division packet, and then after this, you're probably quite ready to take that 2-question test out. Remember, if you're not, you can always ask me for more help. I'm happy to use any free time to help you out. All right, this one, on the back of this, you can see our answers so that you can just check your work and make sure you're good. On the test out, you'll be able to use a calculator to test your answer as well, so you know whether it's correct or not. I'm going to go pretty fast again, so please remember you can pause if you need it to slow down. If you're just checking your work, you can use the scroll bar on YouTube and move it ahead to just check your work to make sure it's accurate. All right, so here we go. We're going to have to keep control of our space because there is no grid on this, and we don't want to run down into the next problem, so we'll have to just be careful. You may have to write a little smaller once you get to the bottom. All right, so here we go. Same things with our McDonald's acronym to help us with our steps. We have does McDonald's sell cheese burgers raw? And so right away we'll do our horizontal lines over to the next workspace. And here we go. So we're going to determine, as soon as I do my first check mark, I can make my vertical line to separate my column space. 4 times what gets me close to 5 without going over? So 4 times 1 is 4. And then we're going to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. Then I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. We're going to check and make sure the 1 is less than a 4. We're going to bring down the 8 to unwrap and join together what was left over from the thousands place. And so now we have 18 on the tray, and then repeating because there's space in the quotient. We're going to determine again, and I'm going to make my vertical line. Determine 4 times what gets me close to 18 now. Remember, up here we're not paying attention to anymore. Just what we have left over is what we're dividing. So 4 times what gets me close to 18 without going over. So we have 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, and 5 times 4 is 20, so it has to be 4. Multiply 4 times 4, 6 queen 16, and then we're going to subtract, and we get 2. We're going to check, the king is happy. Bring down the 6 and join it with our leftovers. So we're slowly moving through, dividing up as we go, and repeating. So ready? Determining again. So we're determining 4 times what gets me close to 26 without going over. We know 6 times 4 is 24. So that's multiplied out. 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract. 26 minus 24 is 2. We're going to check. The king is happy. Bring down the 2 and join it together with the other 2. So we have 22 on the tray, and box it, and then repeat because there's one more spot in the quotient. All right, so let's determine one more time. 4 times what gets me close to 22? I know 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24, so it has to be 5. Multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. We're going to have to write a little bit smaller so we don't run into the space now. Subtract 22 minus 20 and just do a little mini 2 here so I don't run into that space. And then we're checking. The king is happy. Nothing to bring down, but we can box this. And this is our official remainder of 2. Okay, and so now the next number over, set up your does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Horizontal lines. And here we go. Determine 5 times what gets me close to 5 without going over. That's 1. Multiply 5 times 1 is 5. Subtract 5 minus 5 is 0. Check, the king's happy. Bring down the 2 and box. And repeat. Now we're going to determine 5 times what gets me close to 2 without going over, and that is nothing. Multiply 5 times 0 equals 0. Subtract 2 minus 0 is 2, and we're going to go ahead and bring down the 1 and box. Okay, and then we're checking, the king is happy, and we're going to subtract, check, bring down, and box, and now we're going to repeat. So you can see right there I started losing a little bit of track, so I had to slow down and think about what I did, and then get back on track. All right, and then we're going to repeat and go ahead and determine. So determining 5 times what gets me close to 21 without going over. And I know 5 times 4 gets me really close. So we're going to multiply. 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to subtract. 21 minus 20 is 1. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 1 to join it together. And we're going to repeat one more time because of the space in the quotient. Let's determine 5 times what gets me close to 11 without going over. So we have 5 times 2. Multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, and we get 1. You can see I'm writing a little smaller. Check. The king is happy. Bring down. There's nothing to bring down, but we'll box. And this is our remainder of 1. Okay. All right, on to the next problem. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Your horizontal lines. All right, so we're going to start off by determining 6 times what gets me close to 1 without going over it. Nothing, so let's just look at the 14 instead. All right, so 6 times what gets me close to 14 without going over. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. So it must be a 2. Multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract. 14 minus 12 is 2. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 7 and box. So we have 27 on our tray now, and repeat. All right, next determine. 6 times what gets me close to 27? I know 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30, so it has to be 4. Multiply. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract. 27 minus 24 is 3. Check. Yes, 3 is less than 6. Bring down the 5 to join with the leftovers, and repeat. All right, one more determine. Determine 6 times what gets me close to 35 without going over. So we have 6 times 6 is 36, so it has to be 6 times 5. Multiply. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, and we get 5. Check. The king is happy, barely. Bring down. There's nothing to bring down, but we can box. And we have a remainder of 5. Okay. On to the next problem. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? I hope not. All right, so that's how you get diarrhea. That wouldn't be good. All right, so determining 3 times what gets me close to 2 without going over. Nothing, so we're going to join it with the 27. All right, our first determine. Let me get my horizontal lines in here. I noticed that right away that I didn't have a good spot to write on. All right, and we're going to determine 3 times what gets me close to 27, and that's 3 times 9. And then multiply. 3 times 9 is 27. Subtract. 27 minus 27 is 0. Check. The king is happy. We're going to bring down the 5 and box. And then we have repeating because there's space in the quotient. Next check mark. 3 times what gets me close to 5 without going over. 3 times 1. 3 times 1 equals 3. And let's go ahead and subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 1 to join together. And here's our new number. This is dead to us. And we're going to repeat. All right. One more determine. Determine 3 times what gets me close to 21. Ooh, tree time surfing. All right. And then multiply. 3 times 7. 21. Subtract. We get 0. Check. The king is happy. Nothing to bring down. So we'll just box. And this is our remainder of 0. All right. Next problem here. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Set up my workspace. And determine 4 times what gets me close to 5 without going over. So we have 4 times 1. Check that off. Multiply. 4 times 1 equals 4. Subtract. 5 minus 4 equals 1. Check. The king is happy. We're going to bring down the 2 and box and repeat. All right, next check mark. 4 times what gets me close to 12? I know that's 3. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract, and we get 0. Check. The king is happy. bring down the 8 and box, and then we're going to repeat because there's space in the quotient. All right, next one. 4 times what gets me close to 8 without going over? 4 times 2. Then we're going to multiply. 4 times 2 equals 8. Then subtract. 8 minus 8 equals 0. And then check. The king is happy. 0 is less than 4. Bring down the 6 and box. And then repeat one more time. All right, so let's determine 4 times what gets me close to 6. 2. Multiply. 4 times 2 equals, 4 times 2 equals 8. That is not close to 6. That goes over. So this needs to be a 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Then subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. Right, a little bit smaller. Check. The king is happy. Bring down. Nothing to bring down, but we can box. And then we have a remainder of 2. Okay. All right, over to here. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Not since I complained. Just kidding, I don't complain. All right, determine 5 times what gets me close to 4 without going over. Nothing. So let's determine with the next numbers. So 49. So we determine 5 times what gets me close to 49 without going over. So we have 5 times 9 is 45. We're going to multiply. 5 times 9 is 45. Subtract. 49 minus 45 is 4. We're going to check, is the king happy? Yes. Bring down the 3 and box. So we have 43 left that we're going to divide up now. And we're going to repeat again. All right, so here we go. Determine 5 times what gets me close to 43 without going over. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 9 is 45. So we have an 8. Multiply. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract. 43 minus 40, and we get 3. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 4 and box. And then we have to repeat one more time because there's a spot in the quotient. All right, determine 5 times what gets me close to 34 without going over. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 7 is 35, so it has to be 6. 5 times 6 equals 30. Now we're going to subtract. 34 minus 30 is 4. We're going to check. The king is happy. Bring down and box. Nothing to bring down. And then we have a remainder of 4. All right, here's your last 3 problems. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Okay. And let's go ahead. We can even just do this for all of them. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Since we know that we're going to be doing it anyway. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? I bet some of you have done that on your own anyway. All right, so here we go. Last 3 problems. So let's go ahead and determine 7 times what gets me close to 9 without going over. We're going to do our horizontal lines also, so you can pause to do that if you need. I'm going to go ahead and do it for all of them. Zoop, 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 zoop. All right, so here we go. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 9 without going over, and that's a 1. Multiply it out. 7 times 1 is 7. Subtract. 9 minus 7 is 2. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 5 to join with the leftovers. Repeat and determine again. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 25 without going over. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 7 is 28. So it has to be 3. Multiply. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract. 25 minus 21 is 4. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 8 and box to join with the 4. Repeat. And we're going to determine again. 7 times what gets me close to 48 without going over? I know 7-7 tie is at the 49ers game. That goes over, so it has to be 7 times 6. multiply 7 times 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract, we have 6. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 3 and box, and then repeat one last time. Let's determine 7 times what gets me close to 63 without going over. I know 7 times 9 is 1 less, 63. Multiply, 7 times 9 is 63. Subtract, and we get 0. Check, the king is happy. Bring down, nothing to bring down. And then we have a remainder of 0. All right, last two problems. Let's go ahead and determine 2 times what gets me close to 5 without going over. 2 times 1, multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract, 5 minus 2 is 3. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 4 and box, and repeat. Now we're going to determine 2 times what gets me close to 34 without going over. So 2 times, oh, hold on, 5 minus 2, I don't think the king is happy. So we got to be careful when we check that and actually think about it, Mr. Hutch. Geez. All right, so the king was not happy, which means we did this wrong, because 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. And there we go. That's making more sense now. So sorry about that confusion. I hope you caught me and said, no, you're doing it all wrong. All right, so determining 2 times what gets me close to 14, and 2 times 7 is 14. And then multiply, 2 times 7 equals 14. And we're going to subtract and get 0. Check, yes, 0 is less than 2. Actually, check this time. Bring down the 5 and box, and then repeat. All right, let's check off the determine. Determine 2 times what gets me close to 5. 2 times 2 equals 4. So multiply, 2 times 2 equals 4. Subtract, 5 minus 4 is 1. Check, the king is happy. B, bring down the 9 and box. And then we're going to repeat one more time. Determine 2 times what gets me close to 19 without going over. I know 2 times 10 is 20, and we can't put a 10 there. 2 times 9 is 18, so that's really close. Multiply it out. 2 times 9 equals 18. Subtract and get 1. Check. 1 is less than 2. Bring down. Nothing to bring down, but we can box, and we officially have a remainder of 1. And then the last problem, we're going to determine 7 times what gets me close to 3? Nothing. So let's join it together and make 30. Ask it again. 7 times what gets me close to 30 without going over? We know 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 4 is 28. So that's pretty close. So let's multiply. 7 times 4, dentiplate 28. Subtract, and we get 2, because they're 2 away from each other. Check, the king is happy. 2 is less than 7. Bring down the 8, so we have 28 now, and repeat. Now we'll determine 7 times what gets me close to 28 without going over. I know when the door goes surfing, dentiplate, so that's right on. Multiply, 7 times 4 is 28. Now we'll subtract and get 0. Check, the king is very happy. Bring down the 0 and box, and we need to repeat one more time. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 0, and the answer is 0. Multiply, 7 times 0 is 0. Subtract, and we get 0. Check, the king is happy. Nothing to bring down, and so we have a remainder of 0. And so there we go. That's that sheet.